Hi everyone, welcome to the Car Chat podcast. And with me today, I have Troels Vollertsen from Zenvo. Hello.
Hello there. How are you?
Very good, very good. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about sort of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, actually, I'm a car guy. I've always been that. Started very early doing all kind of combustion engines. Took it further on. Took an education. Early on, started my own company where it was meant to just build race cars for several or different classes in the racing industry. There was a bit of a side effect to that because certainly I was also developing Supercharger kits and turbo kits for different of the tuners, and then it ended up that I was doing a lot of this stuff in the Middle East as well, and saved a little bit of money. And one day I thought I would give it a go, doing a car which I always had dreamt about doing.
Nice. Right. Can we go back a little bit and then we'll get up to the cars today? So you said you were working in different places. What were you doing at the beginning? You just sort of like, I love cars, I want to get involved in cars, or how was it coming about?
I've always, of course, I was taking mechanical education, and then after that I went to the university. And but on the side of this, I always tuned my friends, whatever cars, helped different teams with race cars without any salary and so on. So I was always there. And then one day I had the opportunity to open my own shop, and I had clients for it. And then we just started building race cars, different classes, especially, but that's by coincidence. I ended up doing a lot of Rallycross cars.
Oh, really?
And, yeah.
That's quite fun. That's one of those sports that I look at now and go, that just looks like wicked fun.
That was my big passion. We're doing a lot of European championships and so on. So during to the earlier regulations, it was there was a lot of freedom. You could more or less do whatever you want. So it was a lot up to the builder instead of the driver if the car could be in the front or not.
Oh, nice. So you could just go whatever power you like, that sort of thing within
kind of
reason.
The only thing which was the restriction these days, I do not know the regulation now, but these days it was a 45 mil restrictor in the inlet on the turbocharger, and otherwise you could do whatever you wanted.
And what sort of power were you getting out of engines? The engines at
these
that point in
days,
time?
as I remember right, these days we had it was. Of course, their maximum capacity was 2.0, and it was these four-wheel driven cars, as you know them now from the X Games and that. These days we had close to 550 horsepower and 800 newton meters. So, and for hot slicks when you're taking off, that's quite a good sport.
Because they're some of the fastest accelerating cars that aren't drag cars, aren't they?
I think so. I think they are from 0 to 100 in just shy of 2 seconds for sure.
Yeah.
So they are fast.
Whenever I see a video, it's just like, and then it's just bang, 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 bang through the gears, just like.
Yeah, and also the chassis have to be chassis and the steering have to be built quite in a special way because you need to be able to handle both tarmac and gravel, so it's not that easy to build those cars.
Do you how do you pitch that in the middle? Because you've obviously got tarmac and gravel at the sort of same time. How do you go about that versus a conventional track car? It's quite different.
It's quite different because they have to be soft, otherwise you do not have any grip on the gravel. And if they are soft, you can't really get them round on the tarmac corners. So you have to play around with bump steering on the rear end and a lot of stuff. So it's not that easy. But good fun.
They seem pretty interesting to drive, and a lot of more rally styling, obviously, for flicking them in, bit of left then right, all that sort of stuff, handbrake.
it doesn't really say so in the regulation, but the driving style are also a bit more tough, because if you drove like that in Formula One, you would be excluded right away. You would be black flagged within a half a round. So I don't know, but you know, the referees and so on, they are a bit more forgiven because it's accepted by the drivers as well. So I think that they are a bit more tough than the rest of the race drivers.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more contact going on. And
Oh yeah,
a little bit of elbows out, like properly punting people off. Because with Rallycross as well, you have like quite big jumps now. Did you have quite big jumps when you were dealing with it?
Oh yeah, not as it is in the X Games they're doing, but when we did doing European, I think they're using the same track. Let's say the European track in Sweden, Höljes. There is quite a big jump there, and I think they're still using that track for today. So yeah.
And do the cars? Is it about the sort of profile of the ramp, or do the cars? Do you have some sort of control of their pitch once they're in the air?
You have to balance the car, but you never know the steepness of the ramp, so it's not always okay. It looks nice when they are coming down on all four, but it's not always going that way.
Do they have? Do those cars ever have like double shocks, like you see in rally, like proper full on off road?
I don't know what they are running now. At the time where we're doing it, they didn't, but at least or some had it, because when we drove, it was allowed to use the old Group B cars as well. So the RS200 Ford, it have double shocks. But we were running Focuses and Fiestas and so on, and we didn't build that on. We just built it a proper set of shocks on.
Yeah. And then presumably also they're designed to have parts replaced quite quickly.
Oh yeah. You will use a lot of parts when you're entering that, so you need to be able to change the gearbox in whatever 10 minutes if necessary.
That's super impressive. So you're working on these cars, doing a bit of rallycross and stuff like that, and then what were you doing? You said you were developing parts for cars. Was this at the same time, superchargers and stuff, or was this?
Yeah, I was developing. In my former. Or in my early days with my own company, I had private clients coming with the cars for turbo modifications and so on. And certainly there was some tuners around, some of the bigger tuners in Germany and so on. They asked for some development, supercharging kits and so on. So I did those. And then one day I thought, why don't I do my own? And then I started doing some kits for myself, selling them around the world, and that's why I ended up doing a lot in the Middle East. All
right, and what sort of cars were they going on?
I did especially a supercharged kit for Ferrari 599, Mercedes C63, or not Mercedes AMG 63. Did actually for an Aston Martin as well. So yeah, the old V8.
I've never come across a 599 with a supercharger.
Unless I wasn't selling too many of those. There was, I think it's many years ago now, 15 years ago. I think it's maybe it went out 10 kits or something like that.
Yeah. What sort of power do you get? Because what were they with stock? 5? 9,
they were 620, I guess, those days, and we had out 740 something. So it wasn't that much, but still it's noticeable.
How do you develop a supercharged kit? Do you just amp everything up until it blows up, or what's the process?
No, the process is taking the car in. You want to do it on. Find the correct supercharger or turbocharger, whatever you want to do. Scan the engine and do everything in 3D, and then have it milled out, because if it could be casted as well, but small series, we will have them milled out and then start testing it. And actually what's the hard part is the electronic, because you could do standalone systems. We did that many years ago, but modern and new cars, DSG shifting and so on, it's not really that easy to do a standalone system on. So often it could be piggybacked kind of these days when we did. Yeah.
And is that getting hard? I imagine that's sort of got harder as time has gone on, integrating with the standard systems.
Yeah, now I haven't been doing that for more than 10 years, but it is getting harder and harder, and that's probably why most standalone systems now is probably used for race cars. I know that there is companies doing plug-and-play solutions for the most popular cars where they know they can sell a lot of units. So Volkswagen TSRS, I think, is a good example for that.
Yeah. So you're doing all these kits, and then at what point in time did you sort of start getting involved and go, maybe I should make a car?
I think in 2007, I said, now it is. I had 5 guys working, doing these Supercharger kits and traveling around, installing them and so on. And doing race cars as well at the same time. And I came up with a suggestion for one of my former clients, and he said, yeah, but shouldn't we split it and then go for it? And then we just did a rough budget, which was not even half the money we needed, but we thought so for the time being, and then we just started.
And you set off and go. So okay, talk me through the process of like.
Yeah, the point is that if you know what you're going into, you would probably never start. If you are a bit naive and just do it, then there's a chance that you're getting finished. So that's it. But it's.
So you have this vision of making a. Were you setting out to make a race car first, or were you setting out to make a road car?
No, we're setting out to make a road car, and I did it the way because it is quite expensive to start up a car company, and at least in my position, I couldn't really go to my bank manager and say, "Hello, I'm Troels. I need this many millions to start up a hypercar company."
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, right. you're not really healthy, are you? So I did it the way that I was developing the chassis. We made a running frame, if you can say so, because the very expensive part, or one of the expensive parts, is doing the molding for the bodywork.
Okay.
And I know that we didn't have the money for doing too many revisions, or revisions. So I made the car run, so I knew exactly where to place the wheels. Like if I wanted to move a wheel a bit around, I could do it, but I couldn't after the body was on. So actually we had this running frame tested around it, and then the designer came in, and the wheels are placed here, and you can't really move them. So this is what you have to work with. So this is actually how the car was in the beginning.
Yeah. And then that development process.
It's actually the white. I don't know if you. Oh, behind the green one, there's a white car. It's exactly that car, and never been touched. That car.
Oh, so that's the first one. So the people that are on audio, this is also going to be on YouTube when it comes out, and you'll be able to see behind. So what's the white one? Is that a TS1? Is that right? It's
a TS1. Yeah. Actually, the green one you see behind me here is also a TS1, which we are trying to keep it's brand new, untouched, and that would be nice to have here. The white one behind it, it's probably not that easy to see, but that's the 00 prototype, more or less every bracket hand built and so on. Yeah,
and so that's the development car that's been used and abused and then put back together again. And
now it's retired. It's not a development car anymore. We have another one for that, but It was for sure the development car for the first 3 to 5 years.
And when you were setting out and you were saying, okay, I'm going to put some components in it and I'm going to aim for X power level, X price. Did you sort of pick the performance numbers you wanted, or did you just start and see where you're going to end up?
No, I actually didn't pick any numbers because the car, I didn't have any goal of setting speed records or anything. What my goal was, and still is, and that will never go away, it's it's the passion and the feeling of the car. You should be able to feel the car correctly, and when people owns cars like this, it's kind of not a transportation. It's something they take out 5 times in a year, because most of them have several of in this category. Take them out 5 times a year on a good day, and they should respond to the driver. And that, for me, it's about passion, just passion, nothing else. Of course, the quality and everything should be there, but it needs to give you something back at least.
If you are going out to drive a car, like what gets you excited in the car environment at the moment? Obviously, your cars very much do, but outside of that, or just like what sort of cars are you personally interested in that you go, oh, I want a bit of that in my car and that sort of thing?
The way it reacts to your input. I was very, very fond of the Aston Martin Vantage V8.
Yeah.
Not the V12, the V8. Was a bit underpowered, but what a reaction on the steering wheel that car have. And the same feeling I have with the GT3. It's a fantastic car.
Yeah. You just get so much back.
I'm not trying to sell Aston Martins or Porsches, but these are good cars.
No, but I think it's good to understand sort of in you and what's in your head when you go, I like these sorts of cars, because your potential customers will look at you and go, what do you like? And that's probably what you're making. Whereas if you like really numb, heavy, slow vehicles, they'll go, oh, okay, he's probably made a really numb, heavy, slow vehicle.
Yeah, but I would say that if you're really after a handling car which is still drivable, and that's I could easily build race cars, but those you can't drive on the road. But
yeah,
if you're after a responding, good handling car for the road, it would be hard to beat a GT3. To be honest, that's really a good car.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, well, I'm a massive Porsche fan and have a GT3. So
okay, all right. Yeah, but then you also know if you have a GT3 and you drives another Porsche, you won't get that reaction from the car as you get in the GT3, right?
No, you don't.
So if you have that car, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you want all of the feelings to come through. So your goal was to make a really involving, high performance car that gives you feeling back.
Yes, and we were not aiming for any numbers or anything. We were seeing on the first engines a lot more horsepower than we ended up with. We were just adjusting the car until we felt that this is what more or less what the car can handle, and we shouldn't go any higher. And that ended up to be 1100. Since that, we have a bit more, but it's a different kind of engine, higher rev, supercharger, and so on. And it's whatever electronic diffs regulated and so on. So now we have a bit more horsepower, but these days it couldn't actually handle more than what we put in.
Yeah, and we should probably go through the cars and how they've evolved. But what made you choose a supercharger rather than a turbocharger?
We actually in the first car used both. We used supercharger, and then we boosted that one with the turbo. I didn't want to put double turbo on it due to heat in the bottom of the engine compartment and so on. So I wanted to put a big single, and then you have this very famous ketchup power, like nothing, and then it comes all of it. So we put it in the middle, a supercharger to make it a bit more calm to drive. But still, it ended up with that engine, and that's why we changed it later on. We ended up that it was the torque was too massive.
Okay.
We were at one point running the car with more or less 1,500 Newton meters at 4,500 RPMs, and most times it went well, but it's quite hard to drive.
Yeah, rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
a lot of talk gets interesting. So the first car, ST1, and that was, and they're all V8. So they're flat plane crank V8s. So have they all been there?
The first one was a cross plane. Now and then we figured out that this was just too stupid power delivery we had. So we changed it to a smaller engine. We made it a flat plane, and then we switched it to 2 pieces of centrifugal superchargers instead of turbo and compressor.
So it's got 2 superchargers?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, actually, because I kind of like, I like if a car like this drives as a normally aspirated, totally linear power curve. Just it's much more predictable. So with these actually the Danish supercharger called Roadtrex, they are selling a lot of those in other countries as well. But the boost are increasing with the RPMs. So if you're running the engine in the bench without the supercharger on, it will just lower the power curve. So it looks still like a natural aspirated. Even when you put the supercharger on, it's just much higher.
Okay.
And the reason for 2 of them is that the biggest one, Roadtrex 2, isn't big enough. So that's why 2 is sitting there. Otherwise, I would have used 1.
Fair enough. And I think that attitude of going for that power delivery is absolutely, like, if I was going to take, I don't know, let's say I was going to take my GT3 and I wanted more power, I would go supercharger if that was possible. I don't know whether it is, rather than turbo, because I love that linear normal power delivery. Yeah.
We have max torque at 6.5, which is not that normal for these cars. But I like that the power keeps coming. So it's much more predictable when if you are a bit in a danger in a corner on the track, just lift off and you have it right away, and you don't have to wait for the power coming back. It's just much more responsive.
Yeah, nothing worse than lifting and it's still shoving.
As well as the GT3 drives did the 1978 3.3 turbo drives. That was a nightmare. If you're talking about lag, that's actually probably the worst example you can find.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, I've got to put my foot down before the corner so that it boosts when I'm at the other end, but hopefully not in the middle.
Exactly. And if you're a bit lucky, you will hit it.
Yeah, exactly. At the right time with not too much lock still on. Yeah. So, okay, can you talk me through the cars and how they've evolved over time? So we started off with the ST1, that was the first car. And then how has it changed over time?
When we sold a couple of cars, one of the first clients really liked the company and wanted to be an investor, and that gave us a little bit more power to finish the car really correctly. So we developed a new interior at the same time as we did this new flat plane engine. So it was actually a massive change when it went to the TS1. So there was a completely new engine and completely new interior, along with some changes on the rear spoiler. When you can see the rear spoiler behind me, that's the first one from the TS1. And when we were testing the aerodynamics at Michelin in France, they have these plates you can run over and measure the downforce at very, very high speed.
Okay.
And we found out that when we were doing really high speed, more than 350, the downforce wasn't really with us, so it went a little bit unstable on the braking if you come from 350 or more than that and have to brake hard. So we at the same time we took the opportunity to change the rear spoiler on that car and also the diffuser. So we came in control of that brake issue at very high speed. So the car went like from a more analog, a little bit old school car to like modern with whatever data displays inside and so on. Before it was more analog, because that is, you know, kind of the capacity I had when I was more or less developing everything myself.
Has there been a bit that's sort of surprised you at how expensive or the amount of effort that it's taken to develop that you hadn't necessarily thought at the beginning? It's something like the interior or that sort of stuff, maybe.
Interior is crazy. It's, I think our BOM on the interior is more than 1,000 parts. It's crazy what you have to develop.
Oh, wow.
Because but it's like if you know, or when they do not do that much anymore. But earlier days when a Ferrari had a Fiat button inside, accepted because they were owned by Fiat and so on. If I take a button from a Porsche and put into the car, everybody would just say, the button is from a Porsche. That's cheating. And the point is that I can probably not make a button better than a Porsche button, but I have to make my own to, like, at least to establish the brand as a correct car company. And it's quite complicated to make all your own switches, buttons, menu buttons for the displays and modes on gearbox and so on. It's really complicated, and that has taken really a large effort.
It's one of those things that when you get into a car, the first thing you see is often the start button, D, S, whatever, all of these things. And you have this, everyone has these back catalogs of, I've driven this car, this car, this car. And you just go, well, that's that. Like,
yeah, I actually thought, I thought when I built the car that I could detect that a little bit. It turns out that I couldn't, because the first one was a pure manual. And I said, yeah, but if you want a car like this, you want it to be manual. That turns out wrong, because you can't really, or I couldn't sell the cars manual. When we did the paddle shift, and that is actually one of the big efforts as well. You wouldn't believe so, but I think that the effort doing paddle shift for us has not, I would say that's 5 times the effort which have been put it into the engine.
What's so specifically tough about designing a paddle shift? Or you now have your own gearbox system, don't you?
It's not tough designing a paddle shift system, but if you want it to be fast and smooth at the same time, it's quite complicated. So you should imagine when you're driving a manual how many different ways you can release a clutch on that. Do you want to move fast away, or do you want to just move your car 1 meter in your garage up against the wall? Or there is the computer who controls it needs to think like a human, more or less. So it is really complicated.
How does it know different scenarios? I guess you've got speed sensors and stuff like that, so you know if it's not moving, it's going 0 miles an hour, possibly like blend it a lot slower than if you're going 100 miles an hour.
It is due to input and adaptations and a lot of clever algorithms and strategy lying behind it. That is a tough thing to develop.
Yeah. And is your gearbox, is it a single clutch or is it a double clutch or is it sequential? And are they different? They are different.
It's kind of all of it combined. The gearbox started out with that. We bought the Chima, like Koenigsegg and Pagani, and all these guys are Hennessy, and all these guys are using. All of them, including us, was trying to make the gear shift as fast as possible, but it's a synchro gearbox, and it will never get fast. It can be comfortable. It will never ever get a fast gearbox. So there is 2 ways you can approach this on. Is that you can try to make a synchro gearbox fast, or you can pick a race gearbox like a dog box we call it, and try to see if you can make that comfortable. That's
okay.
That's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know you can make it fast because that's just power shifting, cutting the ignition for 30 milliseconds, and then you are in the second gear. But you can't do that when you are running inside Monaco.
Yeah.
So we found a different way, controlling the speed inside the gearbox with some sensors and a brake in the end of the inlet shaft and so on. So we actually made a way to synchronize a dog box, and it's working brilliantly, and we are running that in our cars. And then recently we did totally in-house developed gearbox. More or less the old one was that as well, because Chima is making special internals for our gearbox, since it have to be a dog box. But we made a gearbox from scratch because we also wanted to build hybrid into our newer cars. So that was a good opportunity of doing this gearbox. Then we could use this electrical motor, which is the hybrid system, to control that brake inside the gearbox. We could use it as reverse gear, we could use it as starter motor, and so on and so on. And there was a lot of benefits on the way we are controlling the gearbox by doing it hybrid. So that is that gearbox is developed, tested, just not with the hybrid yet. We are testing on the hybrid system right now in one of our old cars, and that's coming along.
Oh, cool. Do you save quite a bit of weight and complexity having, well, maybe not complexity, but having the hybrid part and therefore no reverse gear and stuff like that?
We are saving weight in the gearbox. Not that much, because the gearbox is right when it's like you can call the gearbox part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Part 1 is a 7-speed forward gearbox with reverse gear, a lot of internal systems to synchronize it. Part 2, where it's a hybrid gearbox, the reverse gear is taken out, and 8th gear is put it in instead. So now we have 8 forward gears and electrical reverse gear, and a lot of other benefits, like of course 160 kilowatt of boost, and it can of course recharge and synchronize and act as starter motor and a lot of stuff. You are adding weight, but you're also adding another 160 kilowatts of power. So you are adding weight because as I remember, the electrical motor is 26 kilos. You are adding on the gearbox, but we are taking parts out, but not 26 kilos. So you will add when you are putting the hybrid on, but that's normal, and that's you can't make a hybrid system weighing nothing.
Yeah.
So
and I guess you get a bunch of benefits. Does it do things like smooth out the gear changes and stuff like that?
It smooths out kind of everything. Today, when you are shifting a gear, you want to match 2 shafts within a certain speed. Otherwise, a dog box is clunking. And what you want to is to match the speed on them. And we are doing that with a mechanical brake today, it's like a clutch.
Okay.
That will be activated by hydraulics, and when it's within a certain speed, we allow it to shift.
Okay.
Of course, that is much faster with the electrical motor. Then you have the speed. So the gear shifts not in high power, but the gear shifts when you are comfort driving. They will be faster, smoother, and they will feel more seamless, if you can say so.
Yeah.
The other way around, you will also get some benefits for it in the downshifting, because you can spin the inlet shaft, and actually the inlet shaft need to be faster than the outlet when you want to gear down. So that's another advantage. So there will be a lot of advantages with that. Also, the drive away is a bit easier because the electrical motor can help you. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't need to just do it on the clutch, so you can get help.
Oh, cool. The car's evolved. We've had a new. Which one are we talking about? Well, we're up to right now with the hybrid powertrain.
Right now, the hybrid powertrain really doesn't belong to a car. We are developing a completely new car from scratch, from a blank sheet. That is where this gearbox goes. But we are running it right now. We have this, I don't know if you ever seen this test mule the TSR, we call it. That's more or less a race car. We wanted to test more on tracks.
Yeah.
And TS1 and ST1 obviously doesn't have a roll cage since it's a road car. So we built it a race car, more to say. But it was not for enter any race classes or anything. It was more or less for our own safety when we were doing tests. And that car really became that good, even if it was built as a race car. It wasn't that bumpy and so on.
Yeah.
So that's where the TSRS with the wing and all that, it comes from that car. It was actually a mixture of the race car and the street car. So the TSRS, it's just legal. Like everything, everything on that car is on the limit. You know, if you move the rear spoiler 1 centimeter backwards, it's not legal anymore. So it's fully homologated. It have Euro 6D on the emission and everything, but you shouldn't change anything. then it will go illegal.
Because I remember I went to a track day at Spa, and you guys were running a car. It was and it was the one with the movable wing. So I guess it was your TSRS. Maybe?
Yeah, it was.
And for those that have not come across this car, the wing system on the back, can you just explain the wing system on the back for people that have not come across it, or even for people that have come across it and want to understand how on earth it works?
We figured out that, okay, when we built the TSR, the yellow one, which is a complete track animal, and it's actually our test mule.
Yeah.
But people were so interested in that car, so we thought, this is probably the direction for us. Now we will build something which is a mixture in between the two, and it has to be road legal. So you can't really, it is just road legal, as I said. So I just had this idea one day that a plane is turning quite well just on air. So I had the idea trying to simulate, of course, you have a lot of downforce in a wing sitting like this, and that would be turned into side force if it did like that. And then we simulated that, or we have a company simulating it for us, and it turns out that the power from it is quite big. But again, it looks a bit weird because it looks like it's going the wrong direction when it sits on the car. On a plane, it looked correct, but on a car, it have to do the opposite. It have to push you inside. It have to push you inside the corner, right? So it looks, when you haven't seen it, it looks a bit weird, but it has a massive power. The power was even bigger than what we simulated. So it's actually not just, let's say the wing is doing like this, it will push you 30% of the downforce will push you inside the corner.
Right.
But not only that, it's sitting quite high on a pivot point, and by doing that, it also acts as a roll bar. So it will give a lot of force to your inner wheel, which is what you need in the corners.
Okay, for the people that are listening and not seeing the visuals here, I'll try and explain this sort of. So the wing, when you go around a corner, it tilts like an aeroplane. So like right-hand side goes, ignoring which direction we're turning, but like one side of the wing will go up and one side of the wing will go down. But it goes, I was trying to run it through my head. I was like, but how does this work? And then it goes the opposite way to if you were a plane turning left, for example. So it tilts left up, right down, which presumably puts a large force, if you're turning left, puts a large force to the left and down, which flattens out the car, I guess, and also just pushes you in that direction.
It's like having a kind of a string inside the corner, keeping you in a little bit. That's actually not the main thing, but it is as I remember, when you're going 200 kilometers per hour, I know it's not many corners you can do that, but it's actually pushing you 150 kilo in.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
That's quite a lot, and it's pushing your inner wheel a lot down as well. I have all the numbers from the wind tunnel, but it's really good. And then it does actually more than that, because we had to make this control system, all these algorithms and so on. Then when we simulated it, you know, there is a sweet spot for a wing, but only for one speed. There is a sweet spot for each speed. So when you're accelerating, we are aiming all the ways for that point, which give you the maximum downforce. When you are turning more than, you have to be above 80 kilometers per hour, and you have to push the car more than 0.5 G. It will turn 20 degrees and aim for the sweet spot so that it give you maximum inside. But then you also have a maximal drag sweet spot, which is helping you when you brake. Yeah. So when you brake, it actually goes up like this. If you are very, very high in power in speed, and it goes when the speed is lowering, it helps brake, you even more. So there is a lot of there's a lot of algorithms going on behind what you see.
You must have had a lot of fun calibrating that and just running all the different.
We did something fun to try to feel the power. We were at Porsche's test center Nardo. There they have this big round circuit where you, during normal hours, you can go 250 all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're just going 250, it fits that even if it's round, it fits. When you are releasing the steering wheel, it goes straight. So release steering wheel, and then on the computer, just tilt the wings. You really have to catch it. So there was a lot of fun going on.
That must have been quite interesting. And then presumably you could, once you've tilted the wing, you can go a bit faster and still stay.
Oh yeah.
In the same lane.
Yeah. You can feel a lot on the car. If you're just driving it and do it, you have to steer contra, depending on which way you're setting it.
Has it ever? I mean, it's just one of those things that just looks completely mad. Like you just watch it and go. I think most people look at it and go like, that's not going to work. There's no way that's going to work.
No, I saw that. When we came out with it, there was a lot of speculation on it. But also, I saw that. What is he called? There is this guy. It's called Jason, which has engineering explained.
Jason Fensky or something in the States.
He is quite good at explaining several things, and I saw he took up the wing, and I saw the video, and he nailed it. It's spot on.
Nice. So for those that haven't come across him, it's a guy called Jason Fensky. I think his YouTube is Engineering Explained. Go have a watch. He's very good at explaining these things. So then you've got the TSRS, which is this track only car with a crazy wing. No, it's a road car as well.
It's as I said, just approved. No, it is fully approved by TÜV, homologated, Euro 6D, everything. But you shouldn't.
And that has the movable wing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's a cool looking thing.
I would have preferred it to be whatever 100 millimeter further back, but then we couldn't approve the car.
Yeah, you always want to refine these things. Do you have carbon fiber wheels? Have I seen this?
Yeah.
Are they quite difficult to make? Do you get them in from somewhere else and then?
No. We are all our carbon fiber pieces are done in house. Everything, and yes, we are doing our own hollow spoke wheels. That was a big undertaking as well. I thought it would be quite easy, but it wasn't. There's a lot to consider. We even have to build the tools for twisting the rim, like they are doing when they are testing a rim at TÜV. So they are twisting it to see if it can withstand the strength for whatever 200,000 rounds.
Yeah.
But also for us, it was important that the rim is not too springy, because it's mass. You can't really dampen that mass.
Okay.
So we developed in a certain way with some special spokes also on the inside drum, so that it's quite stiff, and it's actually it's stiffer than our best. We have 3 different sets of forged aluminum wheels. It's actually stiffer than that, and it's close to be half the weight. It's not all half the weight. Our rear rim is 11 and a little on the aluminum, and we are down to 7 point something on the carbon wheel.
That's a lot less.
They are really light.
Do you notice that straight away when you drive the car?
Not that much on the road because you can't really push it, but on the track it's really noticeable.
What's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is that the car feels more agile, and the steering, it feels like, when you're spinning a bike wheel, you can't really turn it. It don't want to turn, and that's of course due to the weight. So it turns in a little bit better.
Okay.
And the car just feels a bit more agile.
I've seen recently, it just came up in a WhatsApp group I'm in. We were looking at carbon wheels. A lot of them seem to have a coating on the inside. And some people think that they're either like part aluminium and then part carbon, whereas I think a lot of them have like a silver
ceramic coating.
Yeah, what is that for?
Yeah. That is ceramic coating due to if you have really, really hot brakes and you stop, then the carbon wheel doesn't want to be 500 degrees warm. I don't know about other people's, but at least ours, and I think the rest are the same, that it's made from epoxy resin, and you can only reach such a high TG or like temperature before the carbon is, or the resin is getting distorted, and you want to keep under that. So many people, or I have seen what you have seen as well, they are ceramic coating it. It might help. We took another approach to it. We made a heat shield around the brake disc.
Okay.
So that when you stop the car and the disc is very, very hot, it leads the heat away from the carbon wheel. Because when you're driving, it's not a problem at all. It's when you're stopping with too hot brakes, the resin is getting soft.
Yeah, in like some of the cars I was looking at, like is the Ford GT500. I think that's quite a heavy car with reasonably big brakes and carbon fiber wheels. So there's just and probably not very good cooling, I imagine as well. So you've got all this heat in there. Although I saw a clip, or no, it was just a picture. Someone had driven into a curb. I think it was a similar car. It was definitely the same wheel at like 10, 15 miles an hour, and it completely shattered. Like there was a big hole in it, sort of 8 inches or something.
I can tell you for sure. I do not know what the rest of the people does, but I can tell you ours doesn't do that. we have really tested it, and I have driven over a 4x4 with, I think, 30 kilometers per hour. And that is so the car lifts like this from the ground.
Nice.
It didn't shatter, but I also would say that this rim should go to X-ray, which it isn't yet. It should be replaced. It's kind of the same. You never know. Let's say you fall off your motorcycle and hit your head on your helmet. Yeah. You should replace it to be safe, because it wasn't a big deal if you're always doing 80 with your carbon rim, but if you're doing 380, then you don't want it to come apart. So if you have a major damage, you should replace it.
Yeah, I think this was like not going anywhere. It was in
maybe it's even better if it shatters, because then you have to replace it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the worst thing. I've had it before. I've done it, where you're at a track and someone knocks, your helmet gets knocked or something, and it gets knocked off and falls on the floor, and you're like, oh, I know I should probably replace that, but that's an expensive helmet, and like,
yeah, it looks fine.
It looks fine. You're like, oh, it's carbon. It should be all right. But no, it's a tough one, those sorts of safety calls.
It is. It's the same, what you say about carbon chassis, that if you had a damage, the car might be done. Can X-ray it and look if there is any internal damage. That's what you should do, even if it,
Yeah, because I guess
could face the same with an aluminum rim as well. You don't see a tiny crack which is about to grow, so it's not really that different from that.
Yeah. So in terms of your cars, are they complete? Are they a carbon tub?
The new car we're building are a fully carbon monocoque, or the new car we are developing.
Yeah.
These are with the sheet metal cell, if you can say so,
Yeah.
and tubular front and rear frame in chrome chrome molybdenum. So it's not heavy. It's production heavy. That's what it is. It takes a lot of time to do these frames.
Yeah.
So the obvious choice is for the next car, of course, to be in carbon fiber. But when we developed the car, we didn't have that opportunity. So we're doing that for our next model, which is total blank sheet, as I told you.
Yeah.
But this one, then I would say everything else is in carbon fiber. Nothing else is. It is not really that heavy, the car.
How much do the cars weigh at the moment? I guess there's a variance.
They turns out, they are hand built, so they are all a bit different. But they turns out just under 1,500 kilos.
Okay, is that with fluids and everything?
That is with fluid, but just a tiny amount of fuel.
Yeah.
But all water and oil and so on is in the cars.
On the road, that's what it's going to be. And then they're roughly 1,200 horsepower.
Yeah.
How many do you make a year? How many are you sort of doing at the moment?
It doesn't look that good for this year, but let's hope that things are getting started. We are normally at a lot of events and so on, and we haven't been able to do that this year. But Corona has been tough to us, all right.
Yeah.
And we will not have problems getting past it. So we can produce 5 cars a year.
Okay.
And hopefully we will do that this year as well. But I'm not sure, because right now it doesn't look like we have full capacity.
Yeah.
Or we're using our capacity full.
What are the best events sort of for you and for selling cars? Like, which event do you go to, or thing that you do? You go, oh, that's the number one.
We can't deny that Goodwood is a very, very good event.
Yeah.
It's a huge motorsport event. All my favorite cars are there from the old days.
Yeah.
They're always worth to look at. But there is every year a private event with the Lego family.
Okay.
It's a really, really cool event. I personally like to be there, know the people, and but I think also this year we are actually trying to enter USA. So I think we will be at the Monterey Car Week. I've never been there, and I'm looking very much forward to it.
Yeah, it's one I've not been to, and I was hoping to go last year, but these things.
That was kind of more or less cancelled.
Yeah.
We were actually planning to go there last year as well, but there wasn't really anything. Otherwise, many years it's been Geneva, because that's where you're kicking off the season, right? And you're meeting everybody and seeing what they have done during the past year. And that's, I think, for us has been a good event. But last year that was shut down as well, and doesn't look like it's coming back this year. So
that was always, I remember talking to someone else about what was a good event for them, and they said they particularly liked Geneva, and Goodwood is getting to the similar sort of point where all the buyers can come in and they can see all of the cars, so they can go, there's Bugatti, there's Pagani, there's Koenigsegg, there's Zenvo, and you can compare your car. They can compare your car with the competition.
Yes.
At the show.
That was exactly what happened at Geneva. Remember, all the hypercars was in one area, like next to Pagani, Koenigsegg, Bugatti, and so on. And people, not a lot of buyers is there, but there is buyers, and they can go walk around and compare the cars and see what they like about this one and this one and this one. So normally that's been a good event for us, but as you said, it's probably not getting there again.
Yeah. If you're taking your cars you're going to take them to America, do you have to change a few things to make them compliant?
They are compliant. We are using a consultant company to help us with that, because We did ourselves all the TÜV approval, but USA I haven't tried that. So we are having a consultant company to help us with that. But we are developing a set on this new car, and that will have a full US car homologation. So probably the few bits of the old car we can sell in US, they will be possible to register in most of the states.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way, because I'm not 100% sure of all the states.
And something I haven't asked, that how much are the cars? How much do your current cars cost, roughly?
They are a TSRS normally comes out at 1.5 million euros. Then there might be some optional choices on it. That is wheels with standard wheels and so on. So there is some carbon options you can choose, but normally they're coming out around 1.5.
Yeah, and if you went for, can you go for like full carbon bodywork, like visible?
It is.
Is that an option?
No, we can't do that. There is several reasons for that, but we are doing visible carbon bodywork. Why we can't do it is that our car has these very, very sharp edges, and it distorts the carbon quite a lot in these areas, and it doesn't. We can't do the quality we want to deliver. So that is why we have these exposed areas. But in these exposed areas, we try our very best. I do not know if you have seen the latest one with this hexagon pattern weaved down inside the.
I don't think I've seen that.
No, that's actually quite cool.
Cool. Well, I normally wrap these up with 5 questions that I ask everyone.
You're
you ready?
You're welcome. Yeah, sure.
Do you have a most memorable driving trip or journey?
We were just for doing it. We were having this TSR, our yellow TSR, and it was just done. Kind of never rode the car because we have had this habit always finishing the cars right for Geneva, but I was inviting a journalist, Danish journalist, which followed us since the very first days, and said to him, "Come on, let's drive this to Geneva, through the snow and everything." So we took the car from Denmark to Geneva and drove it directly into the stand without washing it, and just put it there together with the street cars. That was
nice.
Yeah, that was quite memorable.
Do the cars have traction control?
Yeah, the ESP is difficult. The traction control is not that difficult. We actually made a special system for it. If you have 1,000 horsepower and you want to control that when you're taking off, then you have to shut what you normally are doing when you're limiting the powers. You can limit the boost, you can limit the ignition, you can close off the throttle, and so on. But more or less, if you're having 1,000 horsepower and you're letting it loose, then you can't really use traction control. You have to more or less kill the engine to get it steady again.
Yeah.
So we figured out a way that is not working for us, because it's simply too much power to release. We figured out what torque can we put out on the wheels on a normal day. Let's say a normal day is dry, 20 degrees, or at least that is for us here in Denmark. So we in first gear, we could put around 400 Newton meters down on the tires from the engine. Of course, we have a setting where you can go full power, but we also have a setting what we call IQ. It's because it is wise to use it.
Yeah.
We are only putting 400 Newton meters from the engine to the tires, whatever that is, 3,000 Newton meters on the tires or whatever it is. And then second gear is a simple calculation, because that's just a ratio. So we are moving a stair, and then we know you have exactly the same torque on the wheel in next gear, and so on and so on. And in whatever fifth gear, you might be on full power.
Yeah.
The point is, with this curve, it's not, or stair, what you can call it, it's not accurate. It's not accurate because you could be at slicks on a sunny day, or it could be raining.
Yeah.
So this is like the base curve. But now when you just have 400 Newton meters, then you can start doing traction control onto that. And that is what we are doing to not shut the car down when you're spinning too much. So it's allowing 7% wheel spin and from 5 to 7% of tire slip is actually where you have the best grip. So it will allow you, and we even did. Well, now we're talking about funny drives. We took the car to Lapland and
nice.
mapping the ESP and the traction control in the snow. That was really a funny drive as well.
That must have looked so cool out there in the snow.
Yeah. It is.
I mean, that's a perfectly sensible, logical way of doing a sort of, tailoring it off. But I also love that you have it's a button that you can have on, which you probably should have on. But also, if you want to turn it off, like it annoys me that a lot of manufacturers now, and I can clearly see why it makes sense, they do limit you in torque through like 1, 2, 3. But you go, sometimes I want all the torque at 0 miles an hour. Like,
you shouldn't maybe really do it on the road, and it's wise to use that IQ on the road. But when you go on a track, you bought the car. If you want to spin it, it's up to you. You can spin it. It's why not?
If you want to burn some rubber, you should be able to burn some rubber.
Yeah, but that's one of the stupidest thing I also have heard. Like I'm not against any of our competitors, but you buy a Bugatti, you buy the right to the car, but now and then you need to buy a key to open it so we can go fast. That's weird. I just think it's weird.
I agree. That is very weird. That is very weird.
Buy the access for your own car.
Yeah. You've got to call them up and check. Right, next question. 5-car garage, unlimited value. Off you go.
Oh, that's a tough one. GT3?
Which one?
Doesn't really matter as long as it's...
would it be manual or PDK?
It would be manual.
Okay, cool.
It would be manual.
It's one item.
It would for sure be a 918 as well.
Oh.
Then it would... it's not because it's a good driving car. I have to choose the Countach.
Ooh.
I have to.
Icon.
I have to. I was a young boy, and there aren't any supercars in Denmark at all. But 2 guys, they went to Greenland because they could work there without paying tax. When they went off, they said, when we come back, and this is a very small town, we will buy the hottest car in the world. And these 2 guys, carpenters they were, came back in a Countach.
Oh,
so
sick.
It have to be there.
Yeah. 2 more slots.
It's really tough for me. F40 must be F40.
Oof. Yeah.
It have to be there as well. It's also drives like shit, but it is it is there. No, it doesn't. From the time being, it drives well. But today, things are so much better. So, but it's really an icon, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty wicked car.
Yeah.
One more. Would you have one of your cars? Obviously.
I really shouldn't take that, but if I should have one of those, it would be number 6, and that would be the TSRS. No, I would again, and it's a weird choice. I would take one of 2 because they are having the same way of driving. I would take the SLR, McLaren SLR.
Ooh.
Or the Vantage V8. One of those 2 cars. They are driving. Yeah. They have the same behavior of driving.
Aren't they very different?
They're very different. They are very different, but they are not that steady on the front end. You have to sit there a little bit and be awake. But when you are doing something, they are going where you are pointing. Yeah. If you know what I mean. And that's a good feeling. You will adapt to any car. If you get a new car, it's a bit weird, but in 1 week you don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
But if you don't have to adapt to the car, then these 2 are really, really going in the right direction.
You can only drive 1 car for the rest of your life, but you've also got like 500 euros for something on the side. So you've got 1
E-Class wagon.
Oh, yeah.
I would say E63 wagon. That would be my choice.
Good choice. I found those in the UK, they're too stiff. I haven't driven the latest one, but they're like Mercedes generally in the UK. It's just we just got like our roads are like this the entire time. But no, absolutely weapon.
You could blame it on the car, or you could look inwards and blame it on the roads.
Yeah, that's very possible. That's true. That's true. Right car, wrong place.
No, I don't think so. I think just if you have something which should be a little bit of fun, and you should be able to use it for everything, and you should bring all your kids and your dogs and whatever you have. E-Class is a good choice.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think is the most undervalued car at the moment? What do you think is sort of cheaper than it should be?
I can tell you which cars are underpowered. I can easily tell you that. But
what's underpowered? Okay, let's go for that.
I think actually the Vantage V8 would have been the perfect car if it have had 100 to 200 horsepower more. It would have been perfect. It was a bit underpowered, 380 horsepower, something like that, bit underpowered. But that is a very, very good example, because normally the cars is overpowered. That means to me that handling and brakes aren't sufficient for the car. But in the Vantage, it was exact opposite. Brakes and handling superb, a little bit too less power.
Yeah, it's funny when you drive cars like that and you're like, no, this. I find that with my GT3 RS, I reckon another 100 horsepower, mainly a bit more torque, would be perfect, because it just needs that. Just that little bit more would make it a little bit more Larry and crazy.
Yeah, it is. You're right. But the point is that if you do that to a GT3, you will add weight. When you add weight, you'll have to add bigger brakes, which is weight as well. So it's
dangerous, isn't it?
It is a tough one. It's a tough one, because you can just buy a GT2, which has 700 horsepower or whatever they have, that have the horsepower, but it doesn't. It just doesn't ride the same way. No, it's not the same.
Okay, final question. What is the most interesting car to you at the moment?
If I should pick something, there is this new Kia Estate wagon, full electric. I don't remember it, but as I saw it, I was just reading a brief article about it, and it was surprising everyone with the range it had. Oh, okay. Like 600 kilometers or whatever.
Oh, wow.
It was. So I think that try to imagine that they are quite a small brand. I do not know. No, they are a bigger brand, but they are really doing a good electric car compared to the bigger ones for half the price. And that's probably you have to appreciate a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Because I see all of these cars, whether it's the Porsche Taycan or these sorts of things, and they're... I had a Bentley Continental. I know this is not an electric car, but to drive for, which I thought was amazing. But it's like 2.4. We drove a convertible at one point. It was like 2.3, 2.4 tons, and you just go like, it's not a big car. Like what? How is? And all the electric cars are these sorts of weights. They're like over 2 tons, and you go, this is just not efficient.
The point is right now that if they are charged by windmills, they can be as heavy as they want. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But as long as, in Denmark we have more than we can use during the night from windmills.
Yeah.
I think our overall total is like 25% of our energy is made from windmills. But during the day, we are burning coal imported from China. So what do you think it takes on the CO2 emissions to transport the coal from China to here and then burn it and send it out? And, I am really against that. On the other hand, I'm really, really for a tiny second electric car, which is charging during the night, and you go around supermarket picking up children and so on with it during the day. I'm really, really for that.
That for me is the one that I find really interesting. I want a small, and I want it to be light, but small electric car for short-ish journeys. As soon as it gets to long journeys, they don't make sense. Yeah.
No, they don't make sense, because if you want to hire a hotel stay in southern Italy during the summer for 1 week, you should have 3 weeks of vacation to get there and get back.
Yeah.
So no, I also think that it's really, really good right now for a number 2 car. Otherwise, you should take a hybrid.
Yes, yeah, I think that's the sort of way. And hybrids are, in most cars at the moment, they're such a compromise because you get so much extra weight, and the range that you're getting is really small. But it seems to be the best solution at the moment.
For me, I of course know that for brands like Volkswagen and so on, they are in for it for the range as well, because sooner or later we can't enter the big cities anymore without electrical motors. But in our case, with the new hybrid system, it doesn't need to be that heavy. First of all, because you can have much more efficient motors than you're using in these mainstream cars.
Yeah.
They are like motors for Formula E and so on. They are very, very expensive, but they are very light and very powerful. And we do not have to have that much battery on board, because we are not in the game for a long range. We are like using it as a performance parameter, picking up energy, releasing energy. This is what we want. But I fully understand that these mainstream cars, they also need to have a range, because there are cities already now that you can't enter without you're only driving electrical.
Yeah, it's going to be it's where the future's going. Will your cars have will they have batteries, or will they use a capacitor?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, we have to have some batteries. But due to the weight, there will be a combination of batteries and capacitors.
Cool. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
You are more than welcome. It was time was flying. It was very it was a nice chat.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks very much.